It is 1 p.m. here in the nation's economic capital, Douala. You're watching the bilingual edition of the news on Canal International. Bonjour, Junior Roussin.
Bonjour, Réginal Tanda. Bonjour à tous. Voici les titres de votre journal. L'Afrique face aux dérives de l'Église catholique. La problématique est soulevée dans un ouvrage intitulé « Lettres d'un Africain au pape François ». L'auteur Lucas Camdem appelle à un retour aux sources pour sauver l'Afrique. À suivre dans ce 13h.
A bill on assisted reproduction in Cameroon has been adopted at the National Assembly, defended yesterday in a special plenary session by the Ministry of Public Health, Dr. Manauda Malachi. The bill, however, sets limitations to the fast-growing practice of assisted reproduction.
Ils aiment la mode, ils aiment la sape, ils sont de la sapologie qui séduisent par leur vestimentaire. Les sapeurs de Douala nous donneront de vous dans un instant.
20 years after the first allegations came to light, R&B singer R. Kelly has been sentenced to 30 years in prison on charges of sex trafficking and racketeering. The singer was sentenced by the U.S. District Court in Brooklyn on Wednesday. It follows a 2021 jury conviction by a New York court that found a 55-year-old guilty on one charge of racketeering and 8 counts of violations of the Mann Act. Those were our major stories.
Merci de regarder Canal 2 International. Nous sommes en direct sur notre compte Twitter. Vous tapez tout simplement Canal 2 International ou @Canal2 Inter. Et nous débutons cette première partie de l'actualité avec vous, Regina Leketanda.
Effectively, Junior Hosanna will take you to the nation's capital, Yaoundé, where a bill on assisted reproduction has been adopted in Parliament, defended yesterday in a special plenary session by the Minister of Public Health, Dr. Manauda Malachi. The bill, however, sets limitations. The government explains it's to preserve African family values, especially given the new form of assisted reproduction is fast gaining grounds in Cameroon. Hyacinth Chia now reports on that new bill adopted in Parliament.
I think you have taken note.
L'état civil est là.
I wish to find out.
Heated exchange here between the Minister of Public Health, Manauda Malachi, and the members of Parliament over the bill on assisted reproduction, a phenomenon which is becoming rampant in Cameroon. The 18 MPs express worries over certain articles.
You believe with me, Mr. Minister, that in Cameroon, all what we are saying here, those are things that are passing in our private and other hospitals. But you talk in TED. Which apparatus are you using for control?
Manauda Malachi explains the objective behind the bill.
Aujourd'hui, nous tenons encore parce que nous avons cette valeur, nous avons cette famille qui...
We are taking into consideration the values of African families. If we open such doors, we are destroying our families. Let's think of the future and social being of such children. We have to fight against single-parent situations. We have to preserve family equity. It is the right of a child to have 2 parents. A child should have a father and a mother. That is the purpose of this text.
Il doit avoir un père et une mère.
The bill, which limits the reproduction of a woman to 55 years, didn't go well with many who seek to find out the fate of couples in dying.
Those couples who find themselves in situation that they can't procreate at all and yet need children.
The public health boss with a solution. Those who cannot have children, the adoption process exists. and it is very much legal in Cameroon. We are not excluding that. It was equally an opportunity for the parliamentarians to school the public health minister on certain realities of the health sector.
You can't do without health. Health is not made for any type of person, because we cannot build a good country without having a good health. Make the conditions of the doctor to be up there. You will see. You will not believe your eyes.
After about a 2-hour debate during the special plenary session this Wednesday, June 29, the 10-chapter bill, made up of 65 articles, was finally adopted.
An electoral board of elections, Cameroon, ELECAM, has revealed more than 7 million Cameroonians have already registered into the electoral list this 2022. And interestingly, the number of women registered into the electoral list this year has increased as compared to previous years. The statistics were dished out during the second ordinary session of the electoral board of ELECAM. Once more, our reporter Hyacinthia.
Barely 2 months to the closing of the voter registration process, the Electoral Board of Elections Cameroon expressed satisfaction on the current database.
I must admit that the statistics gathered on the ground so far are quite satisfactory, considering the overall situation of the electoral database. As at today, pending the cleanup exercise, we have recorded a total of 237,931 new enrollments, as against 64,994 at the same period last year. This represents a progression rate of 26%, hence bringing up the electoral register to a total number of 7,197,779, of which 3,353,760 are women.
Holding the second ordinary session of the Electoral Board for the year 2022, this Wednesday, June 29, at the ELECAM headquarters in Yaoundé, the board chairperson, Eno Abrams Egbe, equally applauds the massive response of youths and women after a heavy campaign through digital platforms.
We note with great satisfaction that communication and sensitization campaigns carried out by the competent units of the Directorate General of Elections on digital platforms such as Facebook, Twitter, with the inclusion of prominent and media personalities, have boosted up the registration, especially among the youths and the women.
Aside evaluating the voter registration process, the meeting this day was also aimed at strategizing on the deployment of members of the Electoral Board to the field prior to the end of the process on August 31st, as stipulated by Section 74, Sub 2 of the Electoral Code.
And the town of Babaju in the west region of Cameroon has remained under high alert 72 hours after a separatist attack at a gendarmerie post. Now, soldiers who were wounded during the separatist incursion are said to be responding to treatment at the Bafoussam Regional Hospital. While visiting the victims, the governor of the west region, Awa Fonkam Augustine, lauded the bravery of the military and equally congratulated the population and vigilante group for their collaboration, as we hear in the following reports. When the West Regional Governor visited the wounded soldiers at the Bafoussam Regional Hospital, the gendarmerie elements were said to be responding to treatment and out of danger. The soldiers were wounded as they fought back a separatist incursion at the gendarmerie post in Babaju, Bambutu's division of the West Region.
A group of terrorists last night at about 1 a.m. attacked the gendarmerie brigade in Babaju. There was exchange of fire between them and the gendarmes who were at the brigade. The gendarmes fought vigorously, and at the end we've registered 3 gendarmes who are wounded, and on the side of the terrorists we're still searching to know the effect.
The gendarmerie post this Wednesday has remained on high alert in case of any eventual attack on the armed separatist fighters said to be coming in from the nearby conflict-hit Northwest region. To the governor of the West region, Awa Fonkam Augustine, such a riposte by elements of the gendarmerie should not have been possible without primary information from vigilante groups and the population.
We want to sincerely thank the population of Babaju, and especially the Vigilant Committee for the role they played, because the Vigilant Committee played a very active role, and they gave vital information about the movement of these terrorists, and that's what guided the gendarmes.
It is not the first time armed separatists are attacking Babajo, which shares a boundary with Santa in the northwest region of Cameroon. And Julien Rostand will continue this newscast with you.
Et je vous le disais en titre, on parle de cette lettre d'un Africain au pape François. C'est un ouvrage de Lucas Kandem, le livre dédicacé à Douala il y a quelques heures seulement, attire l'attention des Africains sur les dérives enregistrées dans les églises catholiques. L'auteur appelle les Africains à se détacher de cette religion importée. Le compte rendu avec Alain Zinkanga et Thierry Nana.
Dans les pages de cet ouvrage, le cri d'un Camerounais pour sonner la révolte contre la religion importée par l'Occident en terre africaine. Lettre d'un Africain au pape François dévoile la face cachée de l'Église noyée dans un océan de dérive qui emprisonne l'Africain dans la pauvreté.
On a semé les graines de la peur, de l'incertitude et de l'indécision dans les cerveaux, dans l'esprit des Africains, à un niveau tel que si nous ne prenons pas conscience de cette réalité-là, on aura beau se battre, on finira toujours dans cette misère ambiante que nous observons partout.
L'ouvrage propose également des solutions pour sortir de cette situation. Pour cela, les hommes de Dieu doivent s'impliquer dans le développement des richesses.
Il faut impérativement que les prêtres, les évêques, les pasteurs et autres qui ont tant d'influence sur les Africains participent au combat, non pas en vendant seulement un hypothétique paradis futur, mais en faisant en sorte que les uns et les autres créent des richesses.
Ancien jésuite, l'auteur, également entrepreneur, à travers son ouvrage, veut encourager les Africains à apprendre à créer des richesses pour, dit-il, financièrement être libres.
Bientôt, la création d'une chaîne dédiée, d'une chaire dédiée au changement climatique et aux emplois durables à l'IRIC. C'est ce qui ressort de la conférence que vient d'organiser l'Université de Padoue d'Italie ici à l'Institut des Relations internationales du Cameroun à Yaoundé. Daniel Anissé Boudji et Raoul Ngoufo.
Créée au sein de l'Institut des Relations internationales du Cameroun, une chaire dédiée au changement climatique et aux emplois durables, principale leçon à retenir de la conférence qui mobilise à l'amphithéâtre de cette institution, membres du gouvernement, professeurs d'université, experts et étudiants en coopération internationale, action humanitaire et développement durable.
Cette collaboration que je propose à l'URIC permet donc à cette institution de mettre en place cette structure et d'impliquer tous les étudiants qui seront concernés par cette activité de manière à opérer des études, de manière à opérer des recherches pour éviter donc que ce soit toujours de l'extérieur qu'on ait l'expertise pour le faire.
L'IRIC va bénéficier dans le cadre de ce projet de l'expertise de l'Université de Padoue en Italie.
Cette conférence est une occasion exceptionnelle pour la coopération entre l'Université de Padoue et puis l'IRIC à mettre en place une réflexion très élaborée sur les emplois durables et qui aura comme finalité, accompagner le ministère à mettre en place les politiques, les stratégies pour encourager l'emploi durable, faire des études pour mieux mesurer et comprendre quel type d'emploi durable le Cameroun a besoin et surtout mettre en place des formations courtes pour les hauts cadres de la fonction publique, des entreprises parapubliques, des entreprises privées qui viendront se former à l'IRIC pour comprendre comment intégrer le changement climatique dans leur politique professionnelle.
La conférence qui se tient en marge de la célébration du cinquantenaire de l'Institut des Relations internationales du Cameroun est une occasion de magnifier aussi la diplomatie culturelle. C'est à travers le village du CA2D, un festival culturel et gastronomique qui réunit autour du feu plusieurs fils et filles d'Afrique étudiant au Cameroun.
Les facilitateurs au sein des services publics, ils sont de plus en plus nombreux, qui traînent à longueur de journée autour des bâtiments administratifs proposant leurs services aux populations. Notre stagiaire Titi Freeman et Thierry Nana sont allés les rencontrer. Les précisions dans cet élément.
Juste arrivé ici à l'entrée, j'ai croisé un monsieur et il m'a dit que ça pourrait une fois passer rapidement avec lui parce qu'il allait là-bas attendre. Donc je peux un peu donner même une bière pour qu'il puisse faire ça même en 20 minutes. Effectivement, j'ai peur. Mais vous savez, on doit toujours prendre un risque à tout. Mais j'ai peur, vraiment.
La confiance n'est pas totale. Pourtant, ils continuent de confier leurs documents pour législation et certification à ces intermédiaires de fortune auprès des services publics. Un gain de temps et une maîtrise qu'ils payent selon l'entente avec ces facilitateurs improvisés.
On leur facilite la tâche tout simplement parce qu'il y a beaucoup qui ignorent la constitution du dossier. Il faut savoir les constituer. Et il faut être un peu expérimenté, savoir quelle est l'autorité compétente pour faire signer tel document.
Des services informels rendus aux usagers au risque quelquefois d'usage de faux documents et de pertes.
Vous courez des gros risques parce que ces arnaqueurs sont souvent au centre des trafics de tout genre. Le moins cher devient cher. Ces gars ne vous font pas du bien.
Le grand public est ainsi appelé à plus de lucidité.
Soyez prudents, soyez vigilants, ne vous faites pas arnaquer alors que nous sommes là pour vous. On n'a pas pour activité reconnue facilitateur, non. C'est une fonction qui n'existe pas. Ils diront qu'ils se débrouillent.
Une vigilance qui doit être appliquée au quotidien, tel que l'a rappelé le ministre des Finances par une mise au point la semaine dernière, qui demandait aux usagers de se rendre eux-mêmes auprès des services spécifiques pour leurs différents besoins.
Et cette note d'actualité, l'association des chefs traditionnels du Vouri communique sur l'état du Vouri. Les chefs traditionnels s'indignent donc de la cherté grandissante de la vie dans le département et la dégradation de la qualité des produits de consommation. Les chefs se réjouissent du climat apaisé depuis des mois dans le département du Vouri, mais s'indignent du non-respect de la législation en matière foncière. Ce sont là quelques points ressortis au cours de l'assemblée mensuelle tenue à la chefferie du village Bonandouma dans le canton Djondjo, ici à Douala. Nous y reviendrons. Et la seconde partie, du moins, la troisième partie de l'actualité avec vous, Regina Leketanda.
And we now talk health in this newscast where the population and health officials of the West region have expressed concerns over the rising number of cholera cases in the West region of Cameroon. Now, during a meeting to present the situation of the infection, health officials urged the population to adopt necessary measures to bar the way to cholera. As we end the following report with you, Gladys Ambotiba.
The increasing rate of cholera cases in health centers in the West region is preoccupying. Within the past couple of days, 76 cases have been recorded, amongst whom 4 have died.
76 cas, s'il vous plaît. Donc, 71 déjà guéris.
76 cases have been recorded in the West region. 71 patients already treated, 1 still hospitalized, and unfortunately 4 deaths. One of them was community worker, and the 3 others were equally suffering from mobility problems.
The population is worried, and health officials have said it is time words must match actions in the prevention of the cholera infection.
Il faut que
the population needs portable water points, or they should be educated on how to treat and the best methods the best method is to boil water in the evening, keep it cool, and sieve the water several times in the morning before consuming. The second point is on how to ensure environmental hygiene. As you saw in the images, several homes don't have decent toilets or don't even have it at all. It is time the council takes up its responsibility to check out the type of toilets the population is using.
Pour pouvoir apprécier la qualité des toilettes que nos citoyens utilisent.
Cholera affects both children and adults and can kill within hours If left untreated, it is reported that approximately 1 in 10 people who get sick with cholera will develop severe symptoms such as watery diarrhea, vomiting, and leg cramps.
And on our cultural page in Yaoundé, the Com community have adopted mechanisms on how to better integrate internally displaced persons of the armed conflict in the northwest and southwest regions of Cameroon. Now, they recently communed through their rich culture in the nation's capital while sending calls to those perpetrating violence to put a stop to violence and embrace peace. As we end the following report with you, Hyacinthia.
They answered present in their numbers, sons and daughters of the Confondum, here to communion with their rich culture. They come together this weekend in Yaoundé was geared towards galvanizing youths of the community and fully integrating the internally displaced persons chased away from home by the persistent socio-political crisis.
Some of them are those who have been displaced by this problem. So you found them feeling at home, at least actually feeling that they are among their brothers and sisters.
This is the only way we can do in order to come together with all the children here in Yaoundé, especially at this difficult moment that people are running away from their villages.
An opportunity for the elites to send a clarion call to those perpetuating the violence to embrace the path of dialogue and give peace a chance.
Conflicts generally are supposed to be solved through dialogue. So whatsoever situation we are living, we need to sit as brothers and sisters and discuss things out. Taking up arms, I don't think is the best way because only the innocent suffer. So if we sit and discuss, looking each other, I think we will have a lasting solution to whatsoever we are living today. So I'm calling on my brothers, because they are my brothers, my age mates, that they should try to think twice so that we can review the strategy, review a way out to this situation that we are living today.
These, as the hundreds of the young people equally partake in the Com football tournament as one of the ways to promoting social cohesion and multiplying mechanisms to boost community development.
Junior Ossan.
On parle de vêtements à présent. Les sapeurs, ils aiment s'habiller et faire des parades dans la ville de Douala. La sapologie est la religion qui les domine. Beauté, jolis costumes, belles montres, belles paires de chaussures. Les sapeurs de Douala ont été rencontrés par Samuel Bayra.
Des hommes en costume, sanglés 3 pièces, unis par la passion de se vêtir, dans les rues de la ville de Douala, flattés par une gloire relative, ils paradent l'après-midi, comme ce samedi, parfois sans but.
Tapez là-bas. La sapologie, c'était de la classe.
Des gestes de vantardise en exhibant leur tenue. Un culte pour les sapeurs du 237. Ce jour à leur passage, la rue est pleine de badauds, charmés par les couleurs, les tailles et les formes des costumes.
C'est d'abord le cœur, parce que tout ce qu'ils portent, c'est des trucs de valeur. C'est des trucs dont on a souffert. Tout animal a souffert pour être juste croquant.
Cette dame, les étoiles dans les yeux est conquise. Les femmes aiment bien ces hommes qui tapent à l'œil. Cet art, dans le jargon de ces hommes, c'est la sape ou sapologie. Saper exige la maîtrise des détails, comme l'utilisation de ces accessoires.
Tout le monde peut acheter le même costume, mais le maire va passer comme persona non grata, comme un inconnu. Mais nous avons des tout spéciales. Il y a des choses que nous mettons en valeur.
La sape, c'est l'art de l'élégance, sans trop d'extravagance.
Une extravagance que leur être trahit parfois. Si ce n'est des voyous ambulants pour certains, ils ont des responsabilités sociales.
Chez nous, on retrouve les hommes d'affaires, on retrouve les professionnels de la sécurité aérienne, les professionnels de l'art mécanique auto.
Nous incarnons, n'est-ce pas, une discipline au sein de nos familles, nous éduquons et nous pensons, n'est-ce pas, beaucoup nos enfants.
Nous allons au travail comme tout le monde, nous avons des métiers.
Une vie de parure qui devient une profession libérale.
Nous avons des personnes qui nous invitent dans des soirées, nous avons des sociétés qui nous sollicitent.
La sapologie, toute une doctrine. Mais ne nous fions pas à ses apparences. Parfois, ces vêtements sont juste loués dans les prêt-à-porter.
En tout cas, très très beau reportage. Nous allons donc poursuivre ce journal avec vous, Regina Leketanda.
Yes, and so on something that is not so nice. R&B singer Robert Kelly, popularly known as R. Kelly, has been sentenced to 30 years in prison on charges of sex trafficking and racketeering. The singer was sentenced by a U.S. District Court in Brooklyn on Wednesday. It follows a 2021 jury conviction by a New York court that found the 55-year-old guilty on one charge of racketeering and 8 counts of violations of the Mann Act, a sex trafficking law that bans the transportation of people across state lines. Public outrage over the singer's sexual misconduct came in the wake of the Me Too movement and the release of the documentary series Surviving R. Kelly. Let's now take a listen to the following excerpts, courtesy AFP.
Well, I mean, obviously he's devastated. 30 years in prison is like a life sentence for him. But at the same time, we knew the government was asking for 25 years. We were prepared for what the judge might impose. So it didn't come as a great big surprise. We were prepared for it, and we are now prepared to fight this appeal. For us, it's just the beginning of the fight, frankly. So we were prepared going in for today, and he's doing okay with it. I said he has regrets and he is sad. Nobody wants to hear what he heard today. He's a human being. He feels when other people are feeling, but that doesn't mean that can accept responsibility in the way that the government would like him to and the way other people would like him to, because he disagrees. He is not, he disagrees with the characterizations that have been made about him. But that doesn't mean he's not a human being and can't feel something when other people are in pain.
He continued committing his crimes for almost 30 years and avoided punishment until today. Today, the sentence shows that the witnesses reclaim control over their lives and over their futures. These are voices of mostly black and brown women and children that were heard and believed, and for whom justice was finally achieved. This is a victory for them, for justice, and for future survivors of sexual assault.
And today R. Kelly was sentenced to prison for his many crimes against underage girls. And R. Kelly used the power of his celebrity and his music business to lure and to manipulate and to isolate and to denigrate many young girls. He was a skilled sexual predator who preyed on his victims, and after grooming them, he inflicted significant emotional and sometimes physical harm on them, which in some cases will continue to hurt them for the rest of their lives.
I was an up-and-coming singer. I was a girl full of life. Very innocent, but very driven, and preyed upon basically at the mall in Aventura, Florida, and promised just a mentorship, and quickly turned into, I would just say, a sex slave.
Tell us about the sentence. Is 30 years enough? Do you think the sentence was enough?
I personally don't think it's enough, but I'm pleased with it.
I started this journey 30 years ago. I was 14 years old when I encountered Robert Sylvester Kelly. There wasn't a day in my life up until this moment that I actually believed that the judicial system would come through for black and brown girls. I stand here very proud of my judicial system, very proud of my fellow survivors, and very pleased with the outcome. 30 years did he do this, and 30 years is what he got.
Quite touching testimonies there, and on that note, we've come to the end of this edition of the Bilingual News on Canal International. Thank you so much for watching, but stick around if you can. Programs continue on your most prominent TV station in Cameroon. At 3:30, more news comes up from the region, and at 6:15, catch Gladys Ambodibang for the primetime news in the English language. At 7:50, 19:50, Emeka Timukuri will be back for the primetime news in the French language. As for Junior and I, we shall be back again tomorrow when it will be 1 p.m. Bonjour, Junior Ossan.
On se retrouve donc demain quand il sera 13h sur Canal 2 International. Bon après-midi à vous.
Bon après-midi.